Welcome to another edition of What's Good with John and Joyce. John Cadillac Sevilla here along with my partner Joyce Logan. And 30 minutes of positivity each and every week, inspiring stories. And I'll tell you, Joyce, speaking of inspiring stories, oh my goodness.
I can't wait to dive into
Wait till we dive into this. I'd like to say a big thank you to all of our sponsors. Woodwinds Wedding and Special Events Venue and Silvio Sauces, thewoodwinds.com. Ascend Bank. They don't just see your accounts, they see your vision and ambitions. Ascend.bank. Moonshots, a vegan-based company that delivers the highest quality organic juices, coffee, bowls, and so much more. Drinkmoonshots.com. And To Your Health, nutrition and health coaching, creating a lifestyle tailored just for you. ToYourHealth360.com. We're deeply grateful to all of our sponsors for their support and for partnering with us to uplift and enrich the lives of our listeners and viewers. We want to make sure we get this official here, so I'm going to read this. Kelsey Elizabeth Matthews' story is one of courage, resilience, and faith, defying all the odds and overcoming every obstacle with grace and unrelenting grit. If Kelsey could leave behind any legacy for herself, it would be one of strength, resilience, overcoming, and most of all, love. And it's her hope to create lasting change for generations to come. And I can tell you this, just by, watching her story online. And a good friend of ours, Ken Engelman, who did the whole Please Be Kind. He's the one who introduced us to Kelsey. Ken, thank you very much for that. But this woman really, really represents so much that's good and so much that's needed in the world today. Kelsey, welcome to What's Good with John and Joyce.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited we made this happen.
So You're sitting here with your crown and your Miss Shoreline.
I love it.
So take us through Miss Shoreline, because I thought you were also Las Vegas, was it?
Yes. So I'm actually from East Haven, so I'm from the Shoreline. Mm-hmm. And I was Miss Shoreline's Outstanding Teen in 2015. So that was my first title with the Miss America organization. And then I moved to Las Vegas when I was 18, and I competed there, and I was Miss Battleborn in 2019, and then I was Miss Las Vegas Volunteer in 2021, and then I was the first Miss Nevada Volunteer in 2022, so that was a new system. So I represented Nevada at the Miss Volunteer America pageant in Jackson, Tennessee in 2022, and then I moved back here to Connecticut in 2024, and now I am Miss Shoreline 2026. And I swore after I had a state title and I went to nationals that I was retired from pageants. And, here we are.
How'd that work out?
I got out of retirement.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad that I did, because I'm having so much fun. And so this is my last year eligible to compete within the Miss America organization, because I'm turning 28. Wow. So I'm really glad that I bit the bullet and said, you know what, I'm going to go, one more year and see what happens.
Now, what was the impetus for you to do all this in the beginning, going back to 2015?
It's interesting. I danced and I sang and I rode horses and I did lots of different things, but I had never done pageants. And I did an event with the Branford Compassion Club. It was actually a fundraiser, but it was a fashion show. Mm-hmm. And Miss Connecticut was there. And she and her mom kind of scoped me out and said, hey, have you ever considered competing in pageants? The Miss Connecticut, it was Miss Connecticut's Outstanding Teen at the time. And I had said, no, I've never really thought about it.
That's a heck of a compliment.
Yeah, it was surprising. It was just like a runway fashion show, and there was a boutique in Branford that sponsored the dresses and the wardrobe. And so I just was there because I volunteered with BCC, and I got scouted by Miss Connecticut. And so they encouraged me, and I signed up, and I was at large at the time. So that means you got to pick the title that you represented, and you kind of paid into it, and then you got to take that title to state, to Miss Connecticut. So I picked Miss Shoreline's Outstanding Teen, and I fell in love with it. I loved it. I enjoyed the appearances and the volunteering aspect. You have to have a platform for community service, and so mine was called Who Rescued Who? The Importance of Animal Rescue and Adoption, nice. And I worked with different animal rescue organizations. That's where I met Ken,
right?
Was Dan Cosgrove. And so that was my first pageant, and I loved it. And it was a family affair. My grandmother was involved and my mom was involved, and we would drive all over and go to appearances. And after I aged out of the teen division, I started competing in the Miss, the local pageants, and I just loved it. So when I moved to Nevada, I kept going.
Wow.
So many people may think this is a wonderful story. You're a beautiful girl, and of course you're in these pageants. But can we go back to your beginning? Sure. Because people need to know and understand where you are right now, why it is so impressive.
Not that so many people see someone like you and they think you popped out of a genie bottle and here it is, right? But there were a lot of us. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of storyline leading up to this.
There's a lot starting with your birth, if it's okay if I say that. Go for it.
I'm an open book.
Okay. So you were born with an addiction to cocaine.
Yes.
Because your mom was using.
Yes.
And then you lost your mom you're fairly young.
I was 17, yeah.
You were 17. Mm-hmm. When your mother, did she pass from an addiction?
Yeah, she overdosed in our house.
She overdosed. Mm-hmm. Okay. Who was there for you after that and your family?
So I had an interesting upbringing. So I was actually raised more by my grandparents a lot of the times than I was my mom. So I was raised in the same house that my mom and her siblings grew up in.
I see.
So my grandparents, when my mom moved back home, kind of stepped in for her when she was unable to, be a mother, right? Mm-hmm. She struggled with a lot of things, and she really did the best she could, but she did struggle. And so my grandparents stepped in, and they did the bulk of raising me.
Thank God for grandparents. Right?
Absolutely.
Yes.
It was an interesting dynamic, though, because I was like Wayne and Vivian's fourth child. It was more so like my grandparents were my parents, and then my mom and her brothers were like my siblings. It was an interesting dynamic.
Yeah.
Because my mom was like my older sister. So even my relationship with my grandparents was different because I was helping them take care of her. So I was parentified very young, and I took on a lot of responsibility for my mom because my grandparents really struggled to do that. They really struggled to get things under control and manage conflict and deal with some of the more difficult things. And so I knew very early that if I did not look out for my mom, she wasn't going to make it because she would overdose and I would find her on the floor. And so it was like birth onward was just mass chaos, right? It was very dysfunctional in the home. Mm-hmm. And it was very up and down, and there were very good moments and very bad moments, and there was a lot of trauma. And so my mom was almost like my older sister that like slept all day. And I'd sit down with my grandparents and say, what are we going to do about her? Right? What are we going to do about this?
Right.
And so there was domestic violence, there was drug use, there was just a lot going on. Mm-hmm. And I took on an adult parent role very young to try to, keep an eye on my mom and help my grandmother to the best of my ability with my mom. And it was not ideal for a child.
No, you were really stripped of your childhood. And you became an adult very, very quickly.
Yeah, parts of it. And I think that's what was confusing to a lot of people. A lot of people have looked at me and thought, well, she had a great life. Well,
that's what I mean. They would look at you that way.
Yeah.
I think it's important for them to know everything to inspire them, that some people could have the background that Kelsey, you have, and give up and fall into the same rut or the same. But you you rose from the ashes, really. You really did.
That's my Phoenix rising, and I'm sure we'll get to that. But when I was growing up, from the outside looking in, I had everything. I danced, I sang, I had everything. Mm-hmm. But people didn't see what was actually going on in the house. And that's the thing with domestic violence and narcissism and personality disorders and trauma.
Yes.
People on the outside, they don't see it.
Right.
So I didn't always have the help that I needed. And it was just confusing for me and confusing for other people. And then when I needed help, people either didn't know or they just kind of looked the other way. It's like the bystander effect.
Yes.
So my childhood had amazing parts of it. There were beautiful moments. There were opportunities that my grandparents afforded me that other kids never get to have. But then there were opportunities for love and emotional connection and stability that other kids had that I didn't have. And so a lot of it turned into performing and perfectionism because that's how I earned approval.
Yes.
And if I did
see.
not live up to the unrealistic expectation and the pedestal that my family had me on, I would very quickly get knocked right off the pedestal because it was unsustainable for a child to maintain the expectations that they had for me.
And that is fatiguing.
It was
trying to stay on that
pedestal
the entire time because it's perfection and none of us are perfect.
It was confusing for me because I never knew what version of any of them I was going to get. So if my mom was breathing in the morning when I woke up, it was a very good day. But I never knew that was going to be the case. She would go out and leave, and I would not know where she was, and the phone would ring, and I would panic because I'm like, are they calling to tell me something happened to her? Eventually, my grandparents took custody because the state took her parental rights away, and she was not supposed to be living in the home. But my grandmother just could not detach herself. She was so enmeshed with her children.
She couldn't do the tough love.
No,
mother.
That wasn't it for her.
Yeah.
She had so much empathy and so much compassion that she overgave, and a lot of people pleasing and codependency.
Enabling.
A lot of that. Yep, enabling is the word. So my mom
It's a tough thing to do.
It was, and my mom just kept living in the house. So I was not separated from the trauma that I was supposed to be separated from. So I was just watching my mom decline. Like, she would OD 3 times a week sometimes, and I'll be like, oh, she's dying. Like, what are you going to do about this?
Right.
And we were supposed to be maintaining the picture perfect, like, white fence thing. So there were some times where they would tell me, like, don't call. We don't want the neighbors to know. Like, wait, what do you mean don't call? She's going to die. I can't leave her there. And then they would, say, well, if you call 911 for her, we're taking dance lessons away. So then they would weaponize. They would weaponize the very things
that gave you the peace.
Yep. Yeah. So it was confusing and traumatic, but again, I had opportunities that I don't know that it's not that I didn't appreciate them then, but I was frightened most of the time. I was scared. I was confused. I was angry because of all the things that were given to me. Money was the love language in my family. If there's a problem, if we open our wallet, maybe that will make it go away. But all I wanted was my mom.
Yeah.
And that's what people didn't understand, is that I would have traded the dance lessons and everything if I could have just had a mom. Yeah. And that was the piece that people didn't understand because they couldn't see it. And they didn't see that I was assaulted by my mother. They didn't see that my uncle was beating her. They didn't see all of those things. They didn't see the fighting. They didn't see the overdoses. They didn't see all of that. So it was very lonely because I was living the dream, it looked like. Yeah. And then when I would have trauma responses or behavioral issues, right, as they would call it, people would just say that I was a brat or I was spoiled or I was all these things. But in reality, I was an undiagnosed autistic child, neurodivergent. I did not have the right help. We didn't know. Living in a home that was not conducive to any of what my needs were because we didn't know what my needs were.
Right.
And my needs were secondary to all of the chaos. So when I would have outbursts or meltdowns, right, whatever you want to call them, I would just get labeled a bad kid. But I was never a bad kid. I was traumatized and carrying the weight of adult responsibilities while not knowing or understanding how my own brain works or what my own needs were, how to regulate my nervous system. If the adults couldn't regulate their nervous systems and they didn't teach me, how was I supposed to know?
It's almost like being in the eye of the storm at times. Like being in the center of a hurricane, tornado, everything going on. It's all these subplots going around you.
That's my whole life. I'm like, when do I get my Netflix original series? This stuff is insane.
Yeah.
You can't make this up.
Right.
My life is just one long series of plot twists. I'm like, oh, that's what we're doing now? Cool. Let me adapt really quick.
But you could have easily succumbed to all this. You've used the adversity to really propel you to where you are today.
You have
an opportunity.
Resilience in you.
Yes.
And resilience and acceptance are the key.
Absolutely.
And you have that. You hung on to that.
I did.
So now your mother passes when you're 17 and at 18, you're in Las Vegas?
Yes, I moved to Vegas. So I had some friends in Las Vegas and I stayed with them for 2 summers and I toured the campus at UNLV. And I absolutely loved it. I wanted to be a rebel. so bad. It just fit me. So when I came home right before my senior year of high school, my mom actually sat me down and she said, we got to talk about college. Like, what are you thinking? What do you want to do? And I showed her all the brochures and everything from UNLV. And I told her that I was so excited about it. And she looked at me and she said, is this really where you want to go? Is this what you want to do? And I told her yes. And she paused for a moment and she got really quiet. And she looked up at me and she said, I need you to listen to me. She said, I want you to go and get out of here. I want you to get away from this house. Get as far away from this as you can, and please don't look back. Just go, and when I can get out of here, I will follow you there. But for right now, I support you if this is what you want, and what I want for you is to get out of here. Just go. And I didn't fully understand that at the time, but when I look back now, I realize that my mom knew that she wasn't getting out of there. And she also knew things that I didn't know, and she understood things that I didn't understand at that time. And she knew that I would be next in line to inherit what she did.
She wanted better for you.
She wanted better for me. She didn't want me to get stuck because she knew that I would be expected to take care of everything that she was taking care of if something happened to her, right? I was next in line. My grandmother wanted to leave my grandparents' house to my mother and I. And I did not know at that time that my uncle had made threats that if my mom and I got the house in the will, that he would burn it down with us in it.
Wow.
Right? So I didn't have all of that awareness, but my mom did. So she had told me, go, like, get out of here. I support you wholeheartedly. And that was her way of saying, go be free. It's too late for me, but it's not too late for you. Go be everything that I couldn't.
That was her gift to you.
It was. And she knew I wouldn't leave her. I would not have left her if she didn't give me the permission. And then she died a couple months later. She knew that it wasn't going to be a situation where she was going to be able to leave, but she wanted me to get out.
She did the best she could with what she had.
She did. Well, just like my grandparents did. And it took me a long time to understand that. Children aren't going to understand that.
Of course.
Right.
Teenagers have a hard time getting along with their parents as it is.
Yes.
In a regular situation.
Your body's going through so many changes and hormones. And
there's a maturing that happens when you get into your mid to late 20s to where you see things differently. And so I turned 18 and I ran off to Vegas. I moved by myself and I found 2 jobs in an apartment. And the apartment was full of roaches because it was all I could afford. And I made it work.
But such courage in your late teens to go there on your own and make things work. I mean, you did a lot of growing up.
well, your vision had to be bigger out there to sustain that.
It's so interesting because I was just talking to someone about this recently. My vision has always been bigger. Even when I was a little girl, I always had, I'm a visionary. It's who I am. It's what I do. I see very far ahead and I see what things could be. And that was what kept me kind of hanging on, like you said. Even when I was little, I just always told myself, if I just hang in there and I could make it to the other side of this, then one day something that I have to say will matter to someone.
Yes.
Something that I have lived through will be beneficial to someone, but I have to get from point A to point B first. If I can just hang in there, then one day there will be a purpose and I can use this for other people. And when people say to me, oh, you're very resilient, sometimes it's annoying because what was my other option?
Right.
Sometimes people pick that other option.
For me, there was only one option. That was never an option.
Failure is not an option, like I said.
It just, I always knew I'm supposed to do something. I don't know what I'm here to do, but I'm here to do something.
You paid attention.
I did.
To that inner.
I did. Yeah. And I've always had a very strong connection to God. And I was raised in faith with my grandmother. And so I just knew, even from when I was a little kid, that I was meant to do something. And as a kid, you don't have the full picture. So as a little kid, it was, I want to be famous, right? I'm going to be famous one day. But it wasn't in my mind to be famous for the sake of attention or status. But to me, it meant people would know me and people would listen to me. And as a child that's growing up in abuse, in domestic violence, you just want to be heard. And I always just knew, like, if I can just get through this, one day someone will hear me. And someone that needs to hear me will hear me, and I can help someone with this. And the idea of being famous when I was a kid really meant to have influence. That's what I meant. And so I always knew that I was meant to speak and write and use what has happened to me for something of substance, something that is not devastation. If I could take it and turn it around, then I can bring meaning to it. And I started to do that after my mom died.
Awesome.
And even now after my grandmother just passed away last September, I always just knew I was meant to do something. And I would say, well, what can I take from this? And how can I use this to help someone else? And that's always just been how I am.
There's so many people out there who want to be famous for the sake of being famous. You want to use it as a platform.
Absolutely.
Because, I mean, you come,
to
right?
do this.
Right? Exactly right.
To do this.
And you think about some of the things you've had with health issues, talking about God keeping you around, right?
Yeah.
Were like 3 heart surgeries?
I had 3 heart surgeries, yes.
3 heart surgeries before the age of?
I was 12, 16, and 23.
Was this due to the cocaine?
That's what they think. So I ended up having supraventricular tachycardia.
Say that 10 times fast.
I know.
Yeah.
So
I had SVT,
Yeah.
and it started when I was like 10 or 11, and they couldn't figure it out. And then they started saying to me, well, if you're looking for attention, we can help you with that. And I said, no, there's something wrong,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so finally they found it. And I went in for an ablation when I was 12-ish, 13, right around it's an ablation, yes.
Okay.
It was the name of the surgery, the procedure.
Okay.
So they did one, and then it came back. So then I was 16, they did another one, and I thought I was all good. So I moved to Vegas, and the next thing I know, I'm in AFib at 21. And I'm like, what? You got to be kidding me. So then they did a third surgery. And that one worked, finally. So they fixed it. And then I got COVID.
Oh, man. The hits keep coming.
And then I got COVID. And I was sick, and I just never got better. And I couldn't, for the life of me, figure out what was going on and why I had all of these weird symptoms that would flare, and they would come and they would go. And my eyes would swell up, and my eyelashes would fall out. And it was awful. And so I went 3 years without anybody being able to tell me what was wrong. And after I moved back here, I finally found a doctor who explained to me that COVID damaged my nervous system and my immune system. So that was where the problems were coming from, because my autonomic nervous system doesn't work right anymore. So all of the...
So you have long-term COVID effects.
I don't know if it's long-term COVID per se, but it's 2 separate conditions now. It's 2 different diagnoses from the impact of COVID. Wow. And so basically my nervous system is shot. So my autonomic nervous system no longer properly regulates my automatic body functions. So when I was practically fainting and having all of these problems and nobody could understand why, that was why. So that has been the journey over the last 3 years. And I am just now going to the gym again and starting to do all of the things that I was not able to do. I was exercise intolerant for a period of time because my body couldn't handle it. So at the beginning of 2024, I just ended up in complete burnout, just total burnout. I was down for 6 months. I was doing the bare minimum for 6 months while trying to work a bunch of jobs and keep my head above water. And then I started graduate school. So my life has been one insane, movie.
But you keep going, girl.
Energizer Bunny here.
Again, that just feels like the only option. And even in moments where I'm like, what is the point of all of this? I don't want to do this anymore. I have dealt with genuine suicidal thoughts because it got to the point where I'm like, you know what? Why? For what purpose? Right. Because this is stupid and it doesn't end. And I don't see how I will bounce back from this, especially, last year after I got sick. That was the moment for me where I asked myself, did I accomplish all of this just to, hit the wall? Am I going to even be able to come back from this? It was very upsetting. And I kind of went through an identity crisis because I kept asking myself, what if something happened and I never got better? What if I couldn't achieve anymore? And that's when I really hit I call it a spiritual awakening, if you will. but really examining myself and my priorities and asking myself, how much of my identity did I wrap up into being a high achiever? And if that was taken away, who would I be? Right? If I never accomplished anything ever again, who would I be as Kelsey? Not as the pageant title or the Truman Scholar or the summa cum laude UNLV graduate. Who would I be if something horrible happened to me medically and I was unable to ever achieve anything ever again?
That's the problem, too. So many people wrap up their identity of who they are, but it's not. I mean, what you're doing, it's not who you are, it's what you do.
Absolutely.
Big difference. And too many people lose that, like when a lot of people retire and they lose that title, and all of a sudden they go downhill really quick. You need to have something to move forward that's beyond just titles.
But you ask great questions to yourself.
I do.
What are you feeling now?
I have been through such a transformation. I feel grateful, first and foremost. I feel gratitude to look back on where I was and where I am now. And I shouldn't be here. There's just a lot of gratitude. And that for me is, Phoenix Rising, my pageant community service initiative, my company, Phoenix Rising Coaching and Consulting. I have been through so many Phoenix moments in my life. I'm grateful and I'm excited because I found my actual purpose when everything else got stripped away. And I think that sometimes God, higher power, whatever version of that people believe in, sometimes God will allow things to fall apart and he will rip things away and he will strip you of pride and ego and perfectionism and all of the things that are actually keeping you from being who you're meant to be and doing what you're called to do. And it was in all of that, all of the experience of my past and everything that I went through, that I stepped into leadership development work. But I wouldn't have found that if it wasn't for everything else. And so that season of my life was necessary. And now I feel inspired again. I feel excited again because I know now who I actually am and who I never was and what was trauma and what was beliefs that were put on me and labels that were put on me that weren't mine and limiting beliefs that were holding me back. And God kind of came in and cleaned house. And it was a very painful process.
It is. It's all part of the cleansing. And one of my favorite phrases you tipped on that was, when things seem to be falling apart, they're falling into place.
That's been my experience, but I didn't know that. Sometimes I say to God, can I get a copy of that plan? Like, can I get a written copy with a signature, please? Because I'd like to see what are we doing out here? Like,
I find myself, though, Joyce, you and I have a lot of talk about, we have a deep faith. But the more we give it to him, the more ease there is in our lives.
Absolutely.
When we try to do it ourselves, that's when things screw up.
Yeah.
But when we give it to him, I'm going to trust his plan. It's a whole lot better than mine.
It's so funny when I look back and I actually thought I was in control of all this. I was not in control of anything.
We don't control nothing.
I was not controlling my direction. If I was controlling my direction, I wouldn't be here. This is not what I had in mind. But for somebody that grew up in a house that was massive just control issues, there was a lot that God was like, nope, we're going to get rid of this. We're going to do this. We're going to fix this. And it was a long process, but I came out a better, stronger version of myself on the other side.
And everything you went through has led you to who you are today.
Yeah.
I wouldn't change
God
it.
knew the end from the beginning. He's the Alpha, he's the Omega.
Absolutely.
He knows exactly, and he's using you right now as a way of inspiring so many people. Like, you think you've had it tough? Look what you're doing. Those thoughts of suicide and everything else and everything you went through, it looked like everything was great from the outside looking in.
Nobody knew. People didn't know. They just, I didn't talk about it.
You remind me of this wonderful Tibetan monk, that I love to follow.
Yeah, video showed me.
And he said something recently that really touched my heart and so reminds me of you right now. He said that whatever you went through, however bad it was, you must be grateful for that. You must look upon that with appreciation because that means you learned that lesson and then that pain will go away.
Yes, that's exactly it.
Yes.
That's been my life. And there was a point right around my UNLV graduation in 2023 was when this Phoenix Rising experience and everything started. But I started to say to myself, why do I keep ending up in the same situation over and over again?
Groundhog Day.
Why does this feel familiar? Haven't I been here before? Why do I keep encountering the same types of people? why does this feel like deja vu? And finally, I said to myself, well, if I keep ending up in the same situation over and over again, what does that say about me? Is it possible that maybe I'm part of the problem? Is it me? Am I the problem?
Lesson to learn.
And so,
and that's a question we don't like to ask ourselves.
Yeah.
That takes courage.
Finally, I got so tired of my own BS. I was so sick of myself. I'm like, you know what? This is ridiculous. Like, knock it off.
Right.
And so I went on this Phoenix Rising journey that I've been on, this personal growth, this healing of the trauma. And I started learning the lessons. If you do not learn, you will repeat the same pattern over and over.
Yes.
Because we are all subconsciously just repeating childhood patterns that we don't know are there. And that's exactly it. I finally started learning the lessons. And little by little, I've never been a big ego-driven person, but there were patterns and different things that I clung to out of fear and comfort. And God was like, hey, so I need you to go this way and do this. So the only way to do that is if I rip all of this away. Good luck, right? Let's go. We're going this way.
Right.
But it's learn the lesson or don't. And if you don't learn it, you will repeat it. And so I very quickly learned, oh, I better learn this because I don't want to do this again. So it just became this ongoing growth experience. But that's exactly it.
And with that in mind, Kelsey, I know we've come to the end of this.
We have to bring you back.
We like say the same thing. We'd love to have you come back because there's too much to really delve into and unpack here. You know, too much.
I just want to leave with something that you said so many things in the TED Talk.
Yes.
And I love when you said, lead well, love well. One without the other is unsustainable and dangerous.
Yes.
And that, I'd love to have a whole conversation about that.
That's going to be in the
we
next
sure
episode.
can.
Yes.
But Kelsey, thank you so much.
Thank
you for being such a big inspiration to so many and showing people what can be done.
Thank you.
Right? No wallowing in self-pity here, that's for sure.
And go to your website.
Yeah, how do we get in contact with you?
So I have two websites. I have my personal brand and my company brand. So my personal website is just kelseyelizabethmatthews.com. And that is where a lot of my speaking engagements are, my podcasts, featured media appearances, all of that's on my personal website, and my booking link for stuff like this, for speaking, for appearances, for Miss Shoreline. All of that's on my personal website. My company website is called phoenixrisingleaders.com, and I own Phoenix Rising Coaching and Consulting LLC, and it is a coaching and consulting firm for personal growth and leadership development. So all of my professional company stuff is on Phoenix Rising Leaders, and then the rest of it is just Kelsey Elizabeth Matthews.
And we'll put those links.
Yes, I can
those links on
provide you
there.
with all of those. And then my social media is on the websites. Everything is there.
Great.
I can let you know where to find me. And
Thank you, Kelsey.
yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kelsey. Many blessings to you, and thank you so much for being a blessing
Thank
to
you.
many. Thank you so much for having What's Good with John and Joyce as part of your routine. 30 minutes every week of positive, inspirational stories like that with Kelsey. And subscribe for free on YouTube and share it with everybody you know who needs some good news and, inspiration. Till next time, many blessings.
Bye for now.
Bye.
Love.
Hey, I heard you got engaged. Congratulations. Now it's time to book the DJ. And that's where we come in. I'm John Cadillac Seville with John Seville Entertainment, Wedding Wire, and the Knot 2026 Couples Choice Awards winner. You can call me directly if you like at 203-988-0658. We'll set up your free consultation. Or go to johncaddyman.com. That's 203-988-0658 or johncaddyman.com. We offer excellence, peace of mind, and a great time for all. John Seville Entertainment, a name you know and can trust.